camera on this tour.
Okay.
And specifically to make video here of the stage when there was nothing inside.
Yeah.
For a scene in a horror movie that Sky is directing.
Okay, so we'll all be in movies somewhere on YouTube later on.
Exactly.
There were people yelling also. They were having a good time yesterday.
They were having a great time. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were very emphatic. There was one song they wanted to keep.
They wanted to keep on going.
To stop.
Yeah. It was a great show yesterday. What does make a show good to you? Like when are you happy to leave the stage?
There are a lot of variables. Can you hear me? Is that better? Is that too much better? Okay. There are a lot of variables, and the one that I'm most concerned with throughout the show is just singing. And it's kind of a note to note, like, did I get to that note? Did I get to that note?
Yeah.
I had this one thing coming up that I know is hard to sing. Am I going to get it there? And so that's kind of like a more athletic concern, maybe.
Yeah.
But last night I kept like tripping over my cable, or like stuff would fall on my hands. I think I was nervous.
Really? Do you get very nervous before shows?
No, hardly never. But last night I was definitely feeling it. So.
Because of the beautiful room.
Yeah, and just I like it here. I like Belgium. Okay. Brussels is cool. So
yeah, you've been like almost non-stop on tour since like May. I saw.
Yeah.
That must be pretty heavy, I think.
It's been, I think if you expect the worst, then you're pleasantly surprised when it's not so bad. I was really dreading this tour, this 5 weeks in Europe, because it seemed long, and it seemed cold and dark, but it's almost 3 weeks down, and I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Do you have time to visit places where you go? For example, here in Brussels, you had a day off, or...?
Sometimes, yeah. I went to the Magritte Museum today.
Okay. Nice.
And then I was here 2 years ago, actually, opening for Joanna Newsom at Beaux-Arts. And so I got to see a lot of the city then, because I had very little to do.
Yeah. Okay, cool, yeah.
That show. But I love it. I love Brussels.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city.
Beautiful.
It's one of them, it's the best city in the world, actually.
I think, yeah, it's like a Dutch Paris.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to say it. Yeah.
Is that fighting words?
No, that's perfect, yeah. Yesterday, like, there was a moment when you played, I think it was Tiger Mountain Peasant Song, when you played All Alone, and you could hear, like, a needle drop in the room, and, like, somebody next to me said, like, why does he have a band? Like, it's an awful thing to say, but at the same time, would you be able to do that? Like, to tour on your own, to do everything on your own, without any people around you?
I could.
It's empowering, right?
Those guys. Thank you. Show's off.
Okay, let's go tell them. Yeah. No, but yeah, it's a beautiful moment in the show, also because of the contrast, of course.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I like having the range.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It might be fun to do. I don't know if a whole tour alone playing songs like that would be that interesting.
Then you become like a singer-songwriter.
Sure. Yeah.
With his guitar.
Yeah. I like it as more of on albums and at shows as like a supplement as opposed to the main thing.
Yeah.
But that's nice to know that I can fire everyone. Just do Tiger Mountain Peasant Song 12 times.
Yeah, there's one guy who would buy a ticket at least. Great. The guy next to me yesterday. Next year it will be your 10th anniversary, I think, of your first album.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
On that. Will there be like an anniversary party? And are we invited?
We were talking about that. I had some big ideas about it.
Okay.
And then we have a booking agent in the States who said that the more you emphasize something's anniversary, the more dated you seem. So we might do something small. Okay. But I don't know if we'll do a big tenennial.
Decennial party.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out.
Okay, because the last time we spoke in Amsterdam in June when we were talking about your last album, and then you said like the next album won't take as long as this one because it took 5 years for you to write the last one. Are you thinking about that already? Because next year would be a good moment to come out with a new album then.
That's a good idea.
Yeah?
There will definitely be new music that comes out next year, but it won't be a whole album.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but we might do, because the Sun Giant EP has never had its own vinyl, like with its own sleeve. So we might reissue the first album with that as its own separate vinyl. That's on a 10-inch or something.
Yeah, okay.
And then, so we might do a little package like that. But then there'll be other new music coming out.
So you'll know what to spend your money on next year. Right. But like with these kind of anniversaries, of course, kind of we're used to looking back to the past. And like if you look back to like 10 years ago, like a lot of things changed, of course. There was this moment, 2008, when you suddenly popped up out of nowhere, out of Seattle, actually.
Close to nowhere.
Yeah.
Down the street.
Yeah. But then, like, if you look back on it, like now, how do you look back at that period? How would you do things differently? Do you like the way things have gone throughout the whole time?
Would I do things differently in the last 10 years of my life?
Well, that's a big question. Like, I mean, like in musically speaking, like taking the time the last 5 years, starting with the first album in 2000. Like, sorry, I'm getting stuck here.
No. I don't know. It's hard to. There's definitely a ton that I would do differently, but I think that's part of being young is that we're not really making mistakes, but experiencing things for the first time and learning from that experience. You know,
because you were extremely young in 2008 too.
Yeah, it'll be my 32nd anniversary next year. So. Yeah. So I'm 31 now. So I was 22 when the first album came out.
Is that how is that experience like to suddenly come out of nowhere and just like tour the world suddenly? How does that change a person?
I don't know. I don't. It was a grand adventure, you know, for many years, and it remains that way. Of course. You know, and so there are like ups and downs for sure, and it's been really intense sometimes, and it's always been like so many great things have happened, and so many great events, and like so many experiences I'm so grateful for. You know,
I read that like in the beginning, Fleet Foxes were almost like a Pecknold family business, right? Your sister was in it, your mother was in it, I think. Or did I? No, I think she didn't play along.
Mother,
but she did the bookkeeping.
Mother wrote the songs, and
your brother made the video clips. Let's just let him. Mom, she's far away. No, like your brother made the video clips.
It remains that way. My brother still does the visual elements. Like he co-designed the stage and the projections. He does our music videos, and then my sister Asia remains the band's manager.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's still the same.
Yeah.
How is it to work with family all the time then?
I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it has its own set of challenges that we have worked through, and it's better now than it has sometimes been in the past.
Yeah.
But mostly down to me being like 24 years old and someone's little brother, and then also their boss, or it's just weird dynamics sometimes that I had to kind of work through.
Yeah.
And now it feels very good. And it's kind of, I mean, there's also, I love writing songs, I love making albums, I love playing shows, I love singing, and I don't really like, and I know I'm speaking to you, and I'm very happy to, but there's something about working with family that makes me feel a little bit inoculate, or a little bit, there's a wall between us and the music world, you know, because we haven't had to kind of find like the music business world.
Yeah.
Like we haven't had to find some hotshot management team to do the job, and think too much about those things.
There's more trust in a way.
Much more trust, yeah, and it's less of gamesmanship going on. So yeah.
I think that's a good decision if it works, of course.
If it works,
yeah. But like Christmas parties are still cool. Like they're still okay. You don't talk business all the time.
No.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That is a good decision. Let's talk about your last record, Crack Up.
Okay.
It's like not the easiest record you've made. Right?
I thought so.
You thought so? Maybe it's just me, but it's a very beautiful one.
Thank you.
I think it's really a gem. It's stuffed with all these different influences and different ideas and different musical forms. You've said something about it that really stuck to me. I'm going to read it from my computer. If this record is about something, it's about it. No one is an island. You said that. I think that's a metaphor. I'm sure that's a metaphor. But for what for? Like what do you mean with being an island?
Well, like we were talking about my family, you know.
Yeah.
I think when I was saying that there were troubles in the past and that dynamic, and I think as far as what I went through after touring, this isn't a big deal, but as far as whatever I went through after touring Helps and Spoons was just kind of feeling like not that independent, you know, because I was working closely with family, and then there's this band, and then band members, and then the band as a entity itself. I didn't feel separate from that or like an individual, and so I think what I wanted to do after that, more than make music, was just kind of assert some individuality or independence more so than I had been able to have the previous years. And so I think that that was a good process to go through, and I don't think it had to happen for sure. But I think instead of being in that self-reliance mindset, the mindset I ended up in while making the album was it's good to have other people in your life, and it doesn't mean that you're weak, or it doesn't mean that you're codependent. There's a difference between codependence and like togetherness.
So what you mean is like sometimes you need to be an island, and then you have to drift off away to the land again, and
at least figure out a way to not be vacillating between such extremes.
Yeah.
So hopefully I've now figured out a way to not be a big period of codependence and then a big period of like needing independence or whatever. So yeah.
Because after the second album you took a break, 5 years. You went studying, for example. You went studying English literature. At what university again? Was it?
I don't remember.
You know, drank a lot.
Yeah.
It's university. Same with me. But you went studying. You went studying English, but you also started doing woodworking, for example, right? Of course. The woodworking course.
I took a little.
You remember that?
I took a course. Yeah. It was really fun. It was fun, but it was just like for fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't for a job.
But these kind of things, like these are the things you do just to open your mind again, to take some time off, right? Yeah. And then you wrote your songs after that, and they're like stuffed with all these references out of the literature and history and so on. Did you like use your course to write your songs too?
No, I had a. When I was at school, I actually had I didn't want to put anything from school in the lyrics because I thought it would. I just didn't. Because I was going back to school. I was going for my undergraduate as a 25 or 26-year-old.
Yeah. So you're older than the other ones.
I was older, and anything that I read in a book, like that I thought was so smart or something. There's like an 18-year-old sitting next to me reading the same thing.
Yeah.
So I couldn't like then put that in some album.
So you had to be smarter than him.
I had to outsmart
that little bastard. Find better references.
So I know that there are some like semi-high-minded references on the record, but none of them were from a class that I took or anything.
Wikipedia?
Just Wikipedia.
Yeah. Okay. Would you mind?
That's actually true.
Yeah. So what, like random? Like the random?
Interesting
page?
articles. The notable articles page, yeah.
Yeah. But like, did you get your degree eventually?
No.
You stopped. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could like give us a brief course of some words that you use on your album. Okay. If you would like elaborate a little.
Okay.
Yeah. Explain.
As if I'm a professor.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like we're your students. There's the beautiful word "mearkstapa" on your album.
Okay.
Which is a beautiful word.
Yeah.
You also sing it very beautifully in your songs. Mm-hmm. But where does it come from?
So, Merrickstoppa. That sounds kind of weird, huh? What language do you guys think that is? And anybody? Anyone? Come on, don't be shy. No one, huh? You're gonna leave me hanging up here. This is my professor impersonation. Yes, you in the back there.
Is it Greek, sir?
Oh, great. That's a great guess. Not quite. You.
Is it Swedish?
Not Swedish. No, it's actually Old English.
No.
For monster. Okay, that was my class.
You're a good teacher, right?
Thank you. Yeah. I just need a chair with a dangerous minds chair that I can turn around.
Yeah. But it means like monster.
I read that later. I just thought it was a cool, weird word. Yeah, there's not a lot to glean there.
Okay.
But,
I found on the internet, Wikipedia, that it's out of Beowulf, right?
Which I did not know.
Okay. But it's a beautiful word.
Yeah.
That anyway. Like, would you want to continue, or is this enough? Like in class. One more.
Let's do one more.
One more. Okay. Appomattox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Appomattox
was a battle of the American Civil War. There was first Manassas was another battle, and then Appomattox was a later battle.
So that's battle references.
Yeah, because that song was about. I was going through a breakup. My girlfriend at the time had met someone else. I was incredibly jealous, and so those lyrics were like out of that, like just. And it was kind of like, it was that period where I was just kind of running through something in my head and trying to make these connections, and I was watching this Muhammad Ali documentary, When We Were Kings, about the rumble in the jungle. And so I was connecting those things in my mind, and I was kind of pacing around the basement in the throes of jealousy. And then, and then connecting it to the Civil War in an overly dramatic way.
That's not what a professor would say, I think. But
no, yeah.
So you said that no one is an island, but still, like, you took some time off, and then you've written your album also in isolation, right?
What do you mean?
Like you that's what I read it. That you took some time, that you closed yourself off a little and wrote it alone. And
yeah, a good amount of the songs were written while I was in school, and I would kind of come home from school and work on songs at night. Yeah. And so in that sense, yeah, it was kind of it had a different. It was different than having people waiting for me to be presenting songs to the band for recordings or something.
Is that the way that you always work? Is that the most creative part of the day, the nights, and to be alone? Is that something that helps?
No, I think it can be at any time of day or in any environment, but just whenever you're in the right mindset, and just doing it as much as possible.
Yeah. Are you writing on tour too? Is that possible too?
Yeah, I've been writing stuff on tour, but not a lot of like lyrics or anything, but writing melodies and chords and stuff and getting ready.
On the bus?
Mostly a sound check and in the dressing room. And,
Okay. You'll be leaving later to Paris, I think. You go? Yeah. That's where you're heading. Paris is like
it's kind of like a French
Brussels.
Brussels, yeah. French Brussels,
yeah. Like on the tour bus, is Fleet Foxes a cool band to be on a tour bus with?
In what sense?
I don't know. Like how are things going on a bus? Is everyone calmly listening to music, or do you have conversations?
We have we sit in a circle, in a semicircle, cross-legged on the ground, and we pass a trust rod around and we talk about how the day went. Yeah, and then we.
Sounds like a cool band to hang with.
No, yeah, it's really really fun.
But they're longtime friends too, your bandmates.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you listening to music now? I'm always interested in knowing what people listen to, just to steal their good music taste. Are there things that we should know, that like good music that you want to share with us?
Well, I've mostly been listening to Sybil Bayer, which a lot of people are familiar with that, but it just fits the current situation of being in Europe in November, and it's kind of like moody European domestic music.
Are you the Are you the guy that like picks out music according to his mood, or like to try to change his mood sometimes?
That's a good question. I think about that with songwriting, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Okay.
Wanting to use music less as like an expression of how you're feeling and more as like a way of making you feel a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask the public or the audience if anyone has some questions left. I'm sure I didn't ask them all. So yeah, I see someone that's happy to.
Hi, Robin. We've come over from Scotland just to see you.
Oh, great.
Yeah, to Brussels. We've been here before.
Wow.
It's lovely.
Oh.
Wow. And you're not playing in Scotland.
We will be there. We're coming back next spring or summer.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I love Helplessness Blues. I think it's one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. I think it's fantastic. I love every track on it, and it was a big step up from the first album, I thought. And I was just wondering, it sounded, when I read interviews at the time, like it was quite a difficult album to put together, and there was a lot of stuff going on personally and within the band and things. Just wondering how you look back on those songs now, how you feel about playing them live, and if you still think it's as good an album as I think it is.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you. I look. There was just so much going on at that time that it's a little hard to. It was just the period during and after the first album came out was just very intense, and so it created this whole set of problems that needed to be solved during the making of the second record, and I was so invested in it. It was an entire life was just making that album, and it was like so life or death to me at the time that the album be good, or that I be proud of it, and so there was some collateral damage from that kind of mindset, but it probably did help make the record mean something to, or of a certain quality to mean something to you, like you said, to think that it was a step up. So I struggle with that now a little bit of not wanting to be so insane about something, but then knowing that kind of works or something, or like you need to be a little bit monomaniacal at times when, or you may need to be monomaniacal at times, But I listen back to it, and it's okay. I'm proud of it, I guess.
I haven't looked at your set list, but I hope you're playing the Shine tonight.
We are, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Does anybody else see two people there?
Okay, hey Robin.
Hi.
I'm here with my band. I almost obliged them to buy tickets for the show.
Hey band.
We're pretty recently started. We just did a little tiny shows, very local. And now we are trying to record some demos just by ourselves. But we're a band that is, Fleet Fox is a really big main influence for us. We use vocal harmony, string sections,
Oh, cool.
very much of instruments. So my question is, do you have any advice just for how being in a band in general to promote or go somewhere or find a lot of shows? Just being in a band in general for a new group of...
What's your secret, Robin?
I mean, I have so much advice. I guess I could. How does your band work? Like, what's the division? How would you? If it were a form of like government, what form of government?
I wouldn't know how to put it that way, but how we write songs, mostly I try to start from acoustic guitars and write some melodies, some harmonies over it, and I just get them together and try this or try that, or if you know something better, you do it then.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's how we write music, if that's an
Cool.
answer. But we were practically non-existent at this moment because we don't have any social media things yet, so nobody knows us yet. So I just don't know what's the best way or a good way to start from there.
Well, I would say that. So when we were like a young band, we didn't actually play that many shows when we were kind of before our first album came out. I was looking back and we only played like, and we lived in Seattle, but we only played once every couple of months.
You guys were like of the MySpace generation, right?
No, dude.
No?
Bandcamp. Spotify, right now, just like.
But I mean, in the beginning.
MySpace, like. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, we posted stuff on MySpace. Yeah. But I think, and I don't know how it is in Brussels or wherever. Are you guys in a Brussels band?
No, we're from Belgium, but it's pretty small, so
Okay.
it's pretty nearby.
Yeah. So we wouldn't play that many shows, but we would play enough shows to kind of like try and. I used to pretend to be the band's manager, and I made up like a fake name, and I would try and get on like Monday nights at like I know like a club that you could kind of call and get in on a Monday night. And so if there was like a band that I wanted to open for, I would call and say, "Hey, I've got this great band, like maybe for Monday." And so we would do that, and we were just kind of part of the music community in Seattle enough that we would play shows, bring 8 songs out, which ones worked, which ones didn't work, and then spend the next couple months writing new songs, and then bring those out, and then like which ones of those worked, and just kind of like going back and forth between public and private as a band, but not like having to play like every weekend necessarily. And so, but just trying to get the music to a place where it was like we felt really good about it. And then once we were, just that kind of trial and error back and forth. And then, but if you really just focus on the music part first, then like write the best songs you can. That will do all the work for you, ultimately, because that's what will connect with people. Like everything else doesn't matter. Like you don't need a cool story. You don't need to look cool. I mean, you guys look pretty cool. Like if the music is really, really amazing, it will do your job for you, So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have time for one last question.
I can do more if you guys.
Yeah? Okay.
Hi, Robin. First, thanks for the great show last night. Really
Great.
enjoyed it and looking forward to tonight.
Great.
Came down
Thank you.
from Holland and Belgium to see you for both nights.
Oh, great. Thank you.
It's a cheesy hypothetical question. You've got a time machine. You can go and see anybody musically you want to see. Who would you go for? It doesn't have to be one or two. It could be a nice juicy list.
To go back in time and see
Yep.
anyone. Definitely. I also don't know how these shows felt at the time. If they felt as legendary as they end up seeming. But I would have loved to. I listened to the Bob Dylan live at the Royal Albert Hall concert, the quote unquote one that was actually in like Wolverhampton or something. Not Wolverhampton. No. I listened to that constantly, like both sides of it, the acoustic side and the electric side. And so I would love to go back in time and see that show or one of the shows on that tour. And then maybe see like, I don't know, the Gettysburg Address or like the Cleopatra giving some speech, and like the music that would be before that. Or like, I bet Pink Floyd shows were pretty cool, like late 16, and how that meaning was maybe darker than the meaning than the immediate impression of the painting. And that is sort of how I felt about the relationship between the lyrics and the music on the first album, is that the lyrics are a little bit more morbid than you might think, considering how bright the music is. And so that was my like basic connection thinking about it. And I actually was able to just see it in person only for the first time a few days ago in Berlin. And I stood in front of it for a long time, and it was pretty great. But yeah, thanks. Paul?
Yeah, hi Robin. I've got a quick one. It's actually from my kids they're watching on Instagram live. So okay. I hope you don't mind. My daughter wants to know what's your favourite chocolate.
What's my favorite chocolate?
Yeah.
Belgian chocolate.
Good answer.
There's a coffee shop nearby here that sells Mast Brothers chocolate from Brooklyn for some reason. Why would you sell that in Belgium? Right?
No idea. I'm
That's
sorry.
crazy.
Yeah.
And my son wants to know your favourite food as well.
My favorite food?
Yeah.
Um,
They obviously like food.
yeah. I like salmon.
All right. You have one last question there in the back.
Hi Ron, hi. I'm Dan. Thank you for all the beautiful music. I'm here with my dad and with my brother who came over from the Netherlands to see the show tonight, and we're very excited to hear it. My question is, how do you work with the Fleet Foxes? So, if you would be a government. no, I'm very. That's a joke, of course, but I'm very curious about how you do the arrangements. Does everybody write the stuff, or do you make demos and write several layers, or how does that happen?
No, now I'm just trying to think of what kind of government we would be. But what's a kind of government where there are a lot of, like, they all have departments, right? Yeah, of course. I don't want to say it's like a benevolent dictatorship or anything, but because that's not really the case. It's more like everyone is like, Sky is the department of production and arrangement, and Christian's the department of singing, and Morgan's the department of like weird bass clarinet solos, or and all these other extra things. Everyone's kind of like, I write all the songs, and and there's a lot of like melodic motifs that I am responsible for, like either in the vocals or in the instrumentation. But I especially on Crack Up, and I've made sure to make room for everyone's kind of unique contributions, and bring then that they're involved for good reason, both because they're good people and because they have like something specific that is augmenting what I am bringing to the table. So but I also am conscious of like not wasting their time, or kind of like, especially as I get older, if I have an idea, I don't usually bring it up and be like, oh, but it could go one of two ways, or kind of like be hem and haw too much about it. I do want to be like, this is not overconfident, but like, this is the direction I would want to go. Like, let's pursue this. This would be cool, and just for ease of, just to make working easier, and not to like waste people's time, and just to have just to be more of a captain, I guess.
So you bring out everybody's special talents and make room for everybody to bring the best out of themselves and all combine it into the music.
Yeah, that's the ideal for sure.
Nice. Thank you.
All right. I've been having a great time.
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Great.
Have a great show tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you, all of you, for taking the time to come here. It's been great.
Thank you guys so much for watching and being so sweet. Thank you.